What's up, everybody? We're back again. It's episode 325 of the Dad Bod Golf Pod. It's just me tonight. Gave Ben the night off. It's his anniversary. So, everybody wish him, obviously, a happy anniversary. But we're still going to get after it. We're going to talk about this AK interview that finally came. Was it great? Little bit of a bummer. Left out a lot of stuff, but there was a good announcement that I think is going to be even better in the future. But tonight's episode is brought to you by BetOnline, the #1 sports betting website in the country. Sign up today. Use coupon code BLEAV, BLEAV, and get a 50% welcome bonus. Give them $100. They're going to give you 50 back to stack on top of it. So get in there and get after it. Mix it up. Get you some MLB action. We had opening day a couple of days ago, last weekish. Get in there and get in on the action. Tons of baseball you can bet on. You still got the Final Four coming up this weekend. Tons of stuff that you can have a lot of fun with. So BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, so we've been hoping that we'd finally get a chance to hear the story behind Anthony Kim. Why he took 14-ish years off, or however long it was, 11 or 12 years before he played another professional event. What happened in those times? Where was he? Stuff like that. And he told us when he first came back, look, at some point in time, I'm going to sit down and tell it all. Tell it all. I hope that my story will inspire. I'm going to tell it all. And but right now I'm focused on golf. So we didn't ever really have a date. When would that be? So we just kind of were left hoping, in the dark, kind of. When are we going to hear this story? You said you're going to say it, when you're going to hear it. And then all of a sudden, Liv pops up and says, catch the story of Anthony Kim. He's going to sit down with David Feherty, Anthony Kim's journey back. And I'm going to be honest, it was great, but it was a little bit of a dud. But there's a reason why it was a little bit of a dud. It was a little over 20 minutes long. We did glean some pretty good information, but we learned that in this 20-ish minute documentary that there is going to be an extended version later on. And I don't know if it's official yet, but it seems like that the producers of Full Swing on Netflix, I don't know that this will be a Netflix documentary. I don't know where it's going to be launched, probably on Liv's website, where you can find this current one, that there will be a full-length documentary where he'll go way more in depth on a lot of the stories that happened over that period of time. Because, man, 2012, I believe, is when he injured his Achilles. And we'll talk about that. And then obviously he doesn't make his return until just recently, 2024. So 12-ish years, a lot can happen in 12 years. And it seems like a lot did happen to Anthony Kim in 12 years. So what are some of the things that we did learn that I thought that I wasn't aware of, that I don't think anybody was aware of some stuff that's happened in that 12-year period? So right off the bat, like, we all kind of knew he injured his Achilles, but none of us knew, I don't think, of all the other injuries that he had after the Achilles. Look, the Achilles is it seems simple, you just reattach to your foot, but that is a major injury, especially for athletes. And you can have the best surgeons in the world and still have issues afterwards. A good friend of mine tore his Achilles, and he's had multiple infections, working with really good doctors, multiple infections, not healing correctly, just a lot of issues. So an Achilles is no joke. An Achilles tear is absolutely no joke. So just an Achilles injury, I could see possibly ending a career. But that's not all that had happened to him. He said he had shoulder surgeries. He had a spinal fusion, which is something that Tiger had. He had spinal fusion surgery. A lot of things just mechanically started to go wrong after that Achilles injury and trying to come back. That was something that I was not really aware of. And I know that those type nagging injuries, when you're trying to come back and play golf, on top of some of the mental and depression type stuff that he was going through, it's got to be tough. it's got to be tough. So that was something that he kind of shared, and I'm sure he'll go into way more detail. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Um, he did not address the issues with his face. He did not address that. His nose, his eyes. He just looks different. Like and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but clearly there was some sort of trauma or some sort of injury to his face that had to be reconstructed. It seems like, and he didn't address that. I assume that'll be something in the extended documentary. So that was a little bit of a letdown. I have kind of tracked pictures that have surfaced of Anthony Kim over the last, over this last 12-year period. And if you look at the ones, if you just look at images, just search Anthony Kim images, and you start finding appearances that he made over that period of time, random, see you out at a club, see you in a parking lot, that kind of stuff. Something happened after 2000, between 2019 and now. Something drastic happened that we don't know about. So I'm very curious to hear what happened in that period of time. Was it some type of accident, and some type of just crazy injury that had to be fixed? I mean, it could be anything. It could be anything, but clearly, there's something. Something happened, because again, the facial structure doesn't change until sometime after like 2019, I believe, just based off of my amateur photo research. So if the dates are wrong on when the photos were published, this theory is way off, but it does look like something happened after 2019. It was not addressed in this. It was not addressed in this documentary, but hopefully that's something that we glean, because I mean that to me may make the story behind that, could make this comeback even more improbable, even more impactful, especially depending on the circumstances around whatever caused the issue that had to be reconstructed. So a little bit of a bummer there, but there's a lot of other things in there that were sort of confirmed. We always knew that there was some sort of insurance policy, insurance settlement that he was benefiting off of. And that's why they do those things, because that's why doctors insure surgeons insure their hands. That's why basketball players insure their knees, and football players insure their whole body, and things like that, because things like this can happen, and their living is their primary way of living is ruined. So if a surgeon, has arthritis or has some sort of injury on his hands, he's paying lots of money for insurance to be able to protect himself in case something like that happens. It's no different with golfers. It's no different than with Anthony Kim. He insured his health. We don't know the specifics of that. I'm sure we'll probably learn a little bit more. He did say that he couldn't say a ton, about what happened. He did say he could not speak to. Hold on one second. I just lost my headphones. It's the joys of a solo show. He did say that he could not. He wasn't privy to speak to the details, so we may not glean a ton from that. But I think it would be worth addressing. And look, I have a good friend. I'm not going to mention him, but I have a good friend that was a PGA Tour player that hurt his back. And, there was an insurance policy that made it to where it was tough for him to come back and earn the money that he was making from the insurance policy. That he couldn't win enough, which is understandable when you have a serious back injury. He didn't feel like he could win enough to out earn what he was making from the insurance policy that he paid for. He paid for that. And if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, I guess you just set that money on fire. So it's, there's winners and losers in an insurance company, and they've done all the calculations to understand the risk behind it, and they're going to come out ahead. Otherwise, they're not just paying out a ton of money to everybody. Otherwise, they'd have to shut their doors. It's still a business. It's not welfare. Insurance isn't welfare. So I can totally understand how the incentive, or especially if you don't love golf, like AK mentioned multiple times during that period, he just didn't love golf. I can totally see the motivation behind, why would I want to go grind? I'm hurting. And, I'm not necessarily comfortable. I don't want to really work out like I need to get there. And I'm injured. So why would if I don't really love what I'm doing, why not just sit back and max out, I guess, what you made from this insurance policy, and then just see what the next step in your life is, or try to find that next step in your life. So I totally get it. But that was sort of confirmed that there was some insurance payouts, settlements, whatever you want to call it, after the Achilles injury, that sort of took away the incentive for him to want to get back into it. So he talked a lot about. Before we do that, I want to give a shout out to Bad Birdie Golf. You need to check those guys out. Use coupon code DADS15, DADS, DADS plural 15. Take 15% off all your orders. All the cool thing about, we always talk about bunkers. The cool thing about bunkers, all their employees wear Bad Birdies. Their prizes. They're big in it with Bad Birdie. A lot of the prizes they give out are Bad Birdie prizes, gift cards, things like that. So they're an awesome company. They're a fun company, and they got a little bit of everything: polos, pullovers, different things like that. So be sure to check them out. Bad Birdie Golf. Use coupon code DADS15. One of the things he said, I'm not 1,000% sure I buy. I'm not 1,000% sure I buy. So when you are a busy guy, okay, let me back up. Let me tell you what he said. Okay, so when he talked about his return to golf, the PGA Tour contacted him. He didn't go into a ton of details, but I'm sure they talked about the pathway to get back, and that was not going to be easy, because it's still points based, world ranking base. You don't just get a free pass into the PGA Tour. And then he talked to Greg Norman, who was really, really invested in getting him back, and it seemed really invested in him in general, and just wanting to help Anthony in general. So, but he said that until Greg Norman called him 2 to 3 months prior to I guess to today, before, or maybe before, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 months prior to today, or whenever this interview was done, or before he made his return back a couple of months ago. He said, I have not played golf. I hadn't played golf since up until that time. So here's the thing. If you were to ask me, if you're a busy guy, okay, if you have a tough workload, you don't get to play that much. You maybe only play, once a month at best. And somebody asks you, man, you've been playing much? You've been playing? If you're in the golf community, you just say, no, man, I ain't been playing. I ain't touched a club. I ain't touched a club since XYZ. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily it's not 100% true, because you have played sparingly. You've played a few rounds here or there, but if you're not playing once a week, once every 2 weeks, if you're playing once a month at best, once every, 6 to 8 weeks, when somebody asks you if you're playing golf, you're going to say, no, I ain't touched a club. It's just kind of like it's kind of golf lingo. So I'm wondering if legitimately he had for 10 or 12 years not touched a golf club, or if it was the scenario, because I feel like we had heard stories of him playing money games and things of that nature. I'm wondering if it's legitimately he hasn't picked up a club since 2012 or 2014, or whenever he made his last appearance. If it's legitimately that, or is it just, he was just playing incredibly sparingly, once a month? In other words, not going out practicing and grinding, grinding every day, going to the range, chipping, putting, all the stuff the pros do, just like all of us that go to work from 8 to 5. That's their job as well. So when they're not playing on the weekends, they're typically practicing. When they're not playing in a tournament that week, they're typically still practicing. They're many, many hours a day. So does that mean he just wasn't playing at all, or He just wasn't playing as much as he is now, where he's grinding and trying to get back. I lean towards. I'm sorry. You can say you hate golf. You can say you don't love golf, whatever. But when you got golf, when you're a golfer, and Anthony Kim is a golfer, when you're a golfer, you just can't not play. You can't give it up. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to just 100% give it up. I have a bunch of buds that have a ton of kids, that could easily just give up golf because they don't have time, but they don't. They still got their clubs. They still, when you can play, if you play 3 times a year, they're still going to do it. They're still going to try to take advantage of that because it's just once you get the bug and once you're a golfer, you can't just not play. Whether it could be going to a simulator, it could be going to Top Golf, it could be whatever. You're just not going to just not play. So I'm not 100% sure I buy that. Now, granted, the demons and whatnot around golf, maybe not a lot of people have as well that Anthony did. So I'm not saying it's totally impossible, but just imagine not picking up a golf club for 10 plus years. And then 3 months prior, you go play in a professional event, you break 80 every single time. And then in your second one, you shoot a 65 in your last round. If that's the case, I mean, if that's the case and he's picking up a golf club for the first time 3 months ago, and he's to the point where he's able to shoot a 65 on the low round of the day in a professional tournament with very high caliber players, my God, he may win the U.S. Open. Like if that's the pathway we're on. I mean, I don't think majors are out of the question. But again, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I still think it's incredible what he's done. He shot the 65 and then he went and he missed the cut at I think on an Asian tour event. But I think that was based off of having like one really, really bad hole and he couldn't kind of, reel it in and get it back, which could happen to any of us. So I'm not sure I totally buy that he has just not swung a golf club. I think he probably played very sparingly, probably extremely recreational, money games, whatever, just stuff like that with buds, but not the going to the range, the grinding, the putting on the putting green. Like, hey, I got a tee time, 10:30 on Saturday. We got 7. We need another one. You in? Yeah, I'll come play. He'll roll up there, get out there, and go slap it around for 18 holes and have fun. So I'm not 1,000% sure I buy the no golf whatsoever for 10 years, but it could be. It could be. I mean, he did have to seemingly buy a whole new set of clubs, from Dick's or wherever he went to get completely unfitted, just right off the rack set. So he did have to do that, it seems like. So was that just to upgrade the technology, or was that because he didn't have golf clubs at all? Who knows? Who knows? But he's back in it. He said it in general. He said it's so weird to go so long of your life and not love golf. And then all of a sudden, I'm falling in love with it again. I'm falling in love with it again, which I think is incredible. I wish it could have happened about 5-6 years sooner. Because again, it's just tough on the back end of your 30s to just pick it up and start, going out and winning tournaments. But it's not out of the question. He said he's hitting it further than he did before, and he's taking care of himself. So he said specifically, I never played with a full deck of cards before, and now I feel like I'm starting to play with a full deck of cards. So he's doing the right things, which is amazing. So again, there's a lot of stuff that was left out, a lot of stuff that I feel like you want to hear, but I think those questions will be answered in the longer full form documentary a little bit later down the road. So it was good. I would still encourage you to watch it. It just he's so much more personable. He's so relatable, and I think his story, once it's 100% out there, is going to really inspire a lot of people. It sounds like there was some addiction. It sounds like there was a ton of bad influences around him that he had to cut out of his life, and kind of give you the guy. I mean, how many people do you know that fit that description? and the playbook that he kind of laid out about how you get out of it. I think that's going to be massive. I think that's going to make a huge impact. So it's impossible not to pull for Anthony Kim. If you're just a hater, like, you're kind of a bad person. Like, if there's a reason to, if you just, I just don't understand how you can watch this story unfold and not pull for the guy. There's a ton of hate on Twitter and this, that, and the other. I think you're just a bad person, or you're just a eternal pessimist over everything, or you're just hardcore PGA Tour and you're just going to hate everything live. But this is a great story. And he talked about, I'd love to win majors. I don't have incredibly high expectations, but I know I'm going to try, type thing. So it's going to be a fun story to watch unfold. So that's my quick review. I'm anxious to see how this new documentary, when it comes out, and what all is involved. And I hope I hope we get all the details, because this is a fascinating golf story that I think we're watching, hopefully, the second chapter right in front of us. We're pretty lucky to be able to see it. So y'all check it out. It's at livegolf.com. They got a pretty sweet website. It's on the very front page. Watch Anthony Kim's journey back. I think you have to create an account. You can create it through Google. It doesn't cost anything, at least as of now. And it's like 20-ish minutes. It's an easy watch. He's playing golf, talking to David Feherty. David Feherty had some demons that he had to work out, and they kind of connect on that issue. So it's just good conversation. I really encourage you to watch it. All right, so now that the review's over, we got to talk about bunkers. Look, not recording there tonight, but we were there on Monday, and it was the final wrap-up of the Winter League. We placed I don't want to spoil it, but we had tied for second, okay? We tied for second, and I want to wait for Ben to come back to really talk about all the details. So we tied for second, and plus we videoed a lot of it, so we got some social media content and stuff that's going to come out. I learned a lot recording. We're going to have to do some heavy editing because it was intense. So, kind of want to keep it family friendly. So obviously there was some stuff that we're going to have to cut out, but basically we get there and we're tied for second with another team, buddies of ours that are great golfers. And we're going to play a 3-hole 4-man scramble playoff, 16, 17, and 18 TPC Sawgrass. And I guarantee you there was 30 to 40 people watching this playoff. And I'm not going to lie, the guys on the other team probably are a little bit better than us individually. They had one player on their team who's a buddy of mine who's close to a scratch golfer, another guy who's a very low single-digit handicap, and then some other dudes that can just pound it out there, and probably pretty good players in their own right. I just don't know them personally. So I honestly felt like we were the underdog. And we jump out to we do the 3-hole playoff, and I'm not going to spoil it, but there was some back and forth through those 3 holes, and we ended up tied through the 3 holes. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think our buddy Wes, who's one of the owners of Bunkers, I don't think he really thought it would go that far because these other guys were better players. So we tied after 3. So we did it. We played 17 and 18 again. Sure enough, we're tied again. So then we just go to 17. And I think we played 17. No, I take that back. We played 17 and 18 over again. So we've played 16, 17, 18. And then we've played 17 and 18 twice. And then we just go to where we're playing 17. And it's back right pin, and he cranks the wind up. So we played 17, I think, 5 times. I think we played it 5 times until there was a winner. And if we had gone past the 5th time, what we're going to do is we're all going to play our own ball on 17 and take the low 2 scores, which would have been electric. But one of us made a bomb putt to clinch the second place spot. And again, I don't want to spoil it because it was a lot of fun. And I think we can possibly piece it into a really good video. And if it's not, we'll just talk about it next week. But it was that probably was more fun than I mean, we talked about it with the crowds and everything. That was probably more intense than the actual league. It was a ton of fun. And afterwards, we were like, "Holy cow, that was a blast." I'd love to play a 9-hole playoff or something like that. It was sudden death was when we got to the sudden death on number 17. I mean, you're talking about the island green at Sawgrass, and you're trying to throw darts at that Sunday pin, that back right pin with a 13-mile-an-hour wind. It was a absolute blast, hooping and hollering. I'll tell you this, on our first 3 holes, we eagled the first hole. They birdied, so we jumped out quick, and I'm not going to spoil it, but we had a 200-yard shot dart that one of our team members hit to about 6 feet. We basically tapped it in for birdie. It was incredible. And then they made some big birdie putt. They made a bunch of big birdie putts, which putting's not easy on this simulator. But we had a blast, and we'll see. Again, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but y'all got to check out Bunkers. Look, it's an awesome place for events. I mean, you can rent out 3 bays, and it's not incredibly expensive for 2 hours and have just the most unbelievably fun experience for your business, for your friend group, whatever. Or you can just take, 8 or 10 buddies and go rent out 1 bay and watch some baseball, watch some basketball, watch some football, and then play simulators in between. And when you spread it out between all those guys, it's nothing. It's nothing. And then you get waited on hand and foot the whole time. It's just, I mean, there's nothing like it. You can't compare it to anything because nothing else really exists of this nature. There's simulator places where you can go and you can play simulators, and you can maybe go get you a Coke out of the freezer or whatever. But there's nothing, the quality of bar/restaurant combined with the lounge areas and the simulators in general, there's just nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing like it that is just open to the public. The closest thing I could probably compare it to, there's this place in Atlanta that's like an indoor country club. It's literally a country club. It has all the amenities, gym, spa, all that stuff. And it's a, simulator golf, but you got to pay initiation fee. You got to pay your monthly dues. This is just open to the public. You make your tee time, you make your reservations just like you do at a restaurant. You can do it online. You can do it over the phone. You can do it in person if you want to. And then it's got unbelievable parking in downtown Auburn, which is hard to find. Unbelievable parking right there at the building. So you pull under, you're safe, you're out of the elements, you're in a parking garage, and it's a short walk to the front of the facility. So love that place. We're there every Monday. Y'all come hang out. We're there every Monday at 5:30. We play around, we shoot some social media stuff, and then we'll record our pod. And if you're there, you probably jump on the pod, and it's a blast. So you got to check out Bunkers. We're obsessed with this place. We go there on my family. We go at least once a month to Sunday brunch after church. Kids get to play free from 11 to 3. My son is begging every single Sunday. Is this the Sunday we're going to Bunkers? Is this the Sunday we're going to Bunkers? We absolutely love it. They just released their kids menu, so it's super family friendly. I mean, you could go just for the restaurant and not even do the simulators. It's that good. So you'll definitely got to check it out. You'll love it. I promise you'll love it. You'll have a blast. So, guys, I really appreciate it. Solo show. Happy anniversary to Ben. We're thankful again to Bunkers and Bad Birdie, Bet Online, all those guys. It's episode 325, and thank y'all for listening and helping us keep going. So, really enjoyed it, and we'll get back with you next week. I'm going to try to chop up this playoff video and get you some content out there soon. So be on the lookout for it, and we'll walk through the round next week. So when Ben's back. So we really appreciate it. Episode 325 of the Dad Bod Golf Pod, and we're always stroking.